Wheel of gaming, spin around, give me a franchise that is profound. Sorry, no, we've done more than enough Pokemon episodes, thank you very much. Let's try this again. Wheel of gaming, spin, span, spun, land on a series that's super fun. Haha, very funny, Wheel of gaming. Wheel of gaming, I'm getting weary, give me a game to do a theory. Wheel of gaming, please, come on, give me something other than Pokemon. Oh, done, episode over, I quit. Out of here. Can't do it, Josh. I mean, I've done theories upon theories on Pokemon, like at least 6. There are so many other games that I want to talk about, but for some reason, Pokemon, it just keeps pulling me back in.
6?
I know.
6? Try 375! Video after video, week after week. Creepy Pokemon, cool Pokemon, sexy Pokemon, weak Pokemon, Pokemon games, Pokemon manga, Pokemon cards, blue, red, white, black, X and Y, purple? I can't talk without saying Pokemon puns anymore! I can't do it!
Ooh, okay, so repressed rage, great, but what do we do about it?
We do one together.
That doesn't seem to solve the problem we're talking about here.
A Pokemon theory so mind-blowing that they never ask us for another Pokemon theory or video again.
Hey, if you even mention the words lavender and town anywhere close to each other,
humans are Pokemon.
Now you're speaking my language. Title card up. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, the show that requires a minute-long skit just to justify doing another video on Pokemon. Today we're joined by fellow gamer and Poke expert, JWittz.
It's actually pronounced the JWittz.
Sorry, the JWittz. Now, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone to hear that there are some extreme Pokemon theories out there. The Great Pokemon War, Lavender Town Syndrome, the whole business with your rivals Raticate. And in general, these theories paint the Pokemon world to be a bleak, depressing place. But the problem with a lot of these theories is that there's either not much evidence for them or there's not much else to say about them. This show may sometimes be accused of reading like bad fan fiction, but at least it's well-substantiated bad fan fiction.
Regardless, there's one facet of Pokemon lore that has gone largely ignored by the fan community.
Probably because it's buried in text that no one bothers to read.
Well, except for us.
And that's the bizarre connection between humans and Pokemon. If you thought the Pokemon franchise was strange before, you ain't seen nothing yet.
It all starts in Kanalave Library. Among the shelves of the library, you'll find many myths of the Pokemon world, but there are a few that stand out. In particular, a piece of Sinnoh folklore that reads as follows. There lived a Pokemon in a forest. In the forest, the Pokemon shed its hide to sleep as a human.
What this seems to suggest is that Pokemon and humans were once one and the same, but it doesn't stop there. The next myth actually spells it out. There once were Pokemon that became very close to humans. It was a time when there existed no difference to distinguish the two.
And if we want to get really technical with it, the original, literal translation of this passage reads, there once were Pokemon that married people. This was a normal thing because long ago, people and Pokemon were the same. What they're saying is that at one point in the history of the Pokemon world, human-animal marriages were acceptable.
Oh man, and here I was all these years feeling awkward for having a crush on Hitmonchan. Phew, that's a relief. I feel like a weight has been lifted. Gee was my first holographic card after all.
I hope you're joking.
You're right, caught me. Blastoise was my first holographic card. But JWittz, the JWittz, these are just myths, right? Can we really believe them?
Well, first, it's important to point out that while yes, this is all in-game folklore, many of the other stories present throughout the library are true. For instance, it's in here that we learn the Pokemon world's creation story, in which Arceus, basically the game's version of God, creates multiple lesser gods meant to control things like time and space, which we find out later is canon.
But there's more to connect humans and Pokemon than just convoluted origin stories. For more text that'll make you scratch your head and go, really? The Pokedex is full of great little tidbits Game Freak never thought anyone would bother to read. Take for instance, Yamask's entry. This Generation 5 darling goes a little something like this, quote, "These Pokemon arose from the spirits of people interred in graves. Each retains memories of its former life. Each of them carries a mask that used to be its face when it was human." Now that's pretty weird, but remember, this is coming from the definitive source of information from the Pokemon world. The Dex ain't no Wikipedia, my friends.
And Yamask isn't the only one. Clearly, there is some link between the human and soul of Pokemon creatures throughout the series. Here's the entry for Generation 6's Phantom. These Pokemon are stumps possessed by the spirits of children who died while lost in the forest. So take one dead child, add one tree stump, and you get a Pokemon. Rated E for everyone, has never been this dark.
But it goes all the way back to Generation 1 Pokemon before the game developers started to get desperate for ideas. Just look at Fire Red's Kadabra. It happened one morning. A boy with extrasensory powers awoke in bed, transformed into Kadabra. End quote. Who wrote this thing? Franz Kafka? I love how matter-of-fact this is. It happened one morning. Like, it ain't no big thing. What? Your son is evolving. Congratulations, your son evolved into a creepy yellow monster with 6 fingers, 6 toes, and a spoon.
Time and time again, we see humans, both alive and dead, becoming Pokemon. When you really stop to think about it, it's almost like human death is just another event that prompts Poke evolution, transforming us human-shaped Pokemon into a ghost type.
So there's lore that points to humans being Pokemon, a very clear human-Pokemon connection in various Dex entries, and then there's also a biological connection. Last time I talked about Pokemon with the Dex crew, we examined the role Darwinian evolution plays in the Pokemon world, specifically looking at how bird Pokemon designs relate to their respective regions. But if humans did indeed evolve from Pokemon in the same way humans evolved from apes in the real world, clearly there must be a biological progression, descent with modification. That chart that you see all the time on the walls of science classrooms and hipster t-shirts. And believe it or not, there is. Just like single-celled organisms adapted to live in the harsh primordial ooze, there's Solosis, the cell Pokemon, surrounded by a cytoplasmic liquid that protects it from most environments. From there, over time, you see Pokemon body types becoming more and more complex, until you get to the bipedal, tailless Pokemon, the ones that would be our evolutionary predecessors. The JWittz, what would you say are the smartest Pokemon?
Clearly, it's the Psychic type. Alakazam has an IQ of 5,000.
So is it any coincidence then that the bipedal, tailless Pokemon have the most psychic types of any of the possible body shapes? Is it any coincidence that so many of these are in the human-like egg group? That there even is a human-like egg group?
Which makes Pokemon like Sawk, Throh, Jinx, Mr. Mime, and the Machop family what we would know in real life as the missing link, connecting apes to humans in the evolutionary line, or in this case, Pokemon to humans. And we just talked about how a human just suddenly turned into a Kadabra, thereby proving from Pokemon mythology, Pokedex entries, and even Pokemon biology that humans are Pokemon.
So animals are to humans on Earth what Pokemon are to humans in the games. I hear you typing in the comments. And if you are, I say, excellent use of analogy. You'll do well on the SAT. But then you continue. What's so special about that? What happened to the powers? Why don't humans in the Pokemon world have special abilities? But there's one thing we've overlooked up until now. They do.
Think back to the anime. Gym leader Sabrina had psychic abilities, able to move telekinetically, teleport Ash and his friends, and even shrink them down to the size of dolls. Then, in the Diamond and Pearl series, we're introduced to the Aura Guardians, humans able to sense and control aura, or spiritual energy, energy, the same energy that grants Pokemon like Riolu and Lucario their powers. It's revealed that a boy named Riley and even Ash Ketchum, everyone's favorite husky-voiced 10-year-old, both have aura powers. How does Team Rocket possibly survive getting electrocuted by Pikachu time after time after time? They're Pokemon! All it's doing is knocking their health down a little bit.
But as loyal theorists know, we try to stay away from non-game sources. The thing is, there's plenty of evidence in the games. Think about it. Every generation has had some version of psychic trainers, and every time their sprites show balls telekinetically floating around them. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a special ability. And what about aura-powered Riley? Well, he makes an appearance in the games too, and his sprite animation in Platinum seems to indicate that he has those same aura powers he demonstrated in the anime, as his hand flashes with a mysterious blue energy. Really stops to make you think, doesn't it? All those black belt trainers, not just martial artists, but fighting types. Everyone else, normal type.
But why would humans evolve and survive in the first place? In a world with creatures that can melt your face off, injure you with bubbles, and drain away your life energy, humans seem pretty delicate. Sure, there are some psychic humans, but the general populace isn't launching fire blasts at each other. Pat used disc job. It was soul crushing. Definitely not something that's gonna save you from a good vine whipping. Oh, good vine whipping sounds pretty good.
Oh my.
You're into that. In a world dominated by survival of the fittest, how would humans survive?
Our minds. That's the power that sets humans apart. No, we may not have giant water cannons strapped to our backs or the ability to surround our enemies in a tornado of fire, but we're able to lead, strategize, and build. That lightning attack had no effect on the ground Pokemon? Well, let me think about this and use a water type instead. Or I suppose if you're Ash, you just tell Pikachu to do it once again with more feeling. Humans were able to build hospitals to instantly revitalize a team, and discs that instantly teach them new skills. If we really are looking at this from the evolutionary perspective, what Pokemon wouldn't want to team up with us? The better the trainer, the more likely the Pokemon is going to be able to win, flourish, reproduce. In the end, Darwinian evolution fuels everything in the Pokemon universe, and it proves that we are the king of Pokemon, quite literally godlike in our powers.
You're right. Remember Arceus, the aforementioned Pokemon who created the universe? Human mental power has grown so much that a talented trainer can go so far as to capture him. Wrap your head around that. You are able to capture the creature that gave you life. In the end, Pokemon proves that our greatest asset is our mind.
So you, young trainer, are a Pokemon. So is every bug catcher, hoopster, and aroma lady you run into. And that truly gives new meaning to the phrase, gotta catch 'em all. But hey, that's just a theory.
A game theory.
Thanks for watching. So there you have it. Humans are Pokemon. If you like the theory, make sure you click here to subscribe to the theorists for more weekly mind-blowing video game edutainment content.
And also, if you enjoyed this video, you can click here to see the video on my channel, where we work together to discover that the Pokemon world might be our very own.
2 Pokemon theories, one day, one awesome 20-minute cycle of watching stuff that we're doing. So to play us out, Mr. Witz here is going to lay down a sick beat, as it were.
I am?
Yes, you are.
Okay, the game theory, please. Smart it out. Smartest show in gaming. With our powers combined, we are
Pokepals.
Oh,
That's lame. When our powers combined, we are video game theorists, guys. Yay.
that make
Edutainment. We have no good sign off.